Just want to, number one, thank God. I mean, I'm a God's plan guy, and just happy He got me here and put me in the position I'm in, and excited to get started. Thanks. Brett and I have been friends for a little bit, and just thanks to him for, believing in me, believing in the value that I add to a football team and to the development of the men that he's got his hands on and he's empowered to develop. Just, thankful for that. I want to thank my Gina, and I told her, hey, I said, I think I might want to do this college route. She kind of looked at me, like, okay, we're getting older. I'm like, and I'm like, yeah, but you know what? I just feel like it's time to inspire these young men, and just thankful for the opportunity of the people that believe in me to get me here. But just want to open with that. So with that, fellas.
How did you and Bret kind of connect on this, and what convinced you to go the college route here?
So I met Bret, at the Patriots,
right.
And our cubicles were right next to each other in the defensive side. So we hit it off right away, and we formed a relationship, on the football field, and then also on a personal level, and just had a great developmental plan for the guys that we were with, and I was unique to him. He never saw anything like me. And, Coach Belichick would constantly talk to him about what I've done for him in the past and things like that. So, as Bret left, and I was, man, I'll tell you what, I almost cried when he told me he was going to the Giants. I was like, oh, because I was like, man, just, not only were we letting a great guy walk out of the building, but we were letting an incredible coach walk out of the building. And then he went with Joe to the Giants. And then he called me like, I don't know when it was, November, whatever, and I might have been the second person he told, besides his wife, about, he had the opportunity to come here, and I was like, man, that's what you are. I said, Bret, you are a college football head coach. That's what God calls you to do, and I'm just so happy for him. And then, in the spring of that year, he asked me if I'd come out here and just, meet his staff and see the facilities and just kind of continue with me being around the program. So it was great because every year, in our off-season program before the players arrived, I would just come out here for like 3 or 4 days and interact with the staff and watch spring practice. And then me and Bret would go out to dinner, and then he would, run some things by me. So the relationship building. And then, after this year, when, we decided to mutually part ways in New England, he called me right away. And he just said, I would love to have you. And I think the relationship's built over the years, and he saw the value and just said, let's try to get this worked out. And I mean, there was obviously some hoops to go through, and I had some other opportunities. And but at the end of the day, I just prayed on it and listened to my mentors and talked to a lot of people and said, hey, I think this is the right place with the right people at the right time.
What is it about the college game, kind of a new experience for you that intrigued you?
Well, I told the guys last night, Coach had me talk to the team, and I said, hey, listen, I've been an NFL coach for over 30 years. I've been a college coach for 3 days. So, I mean, I really am green on a lot of things. I do know how to develop men. I know how to take them and improve them. I don't understand the ins and outs. Me just looking at the men, the young men, they look different than I'm used to looking at, but their attitude is different too, and there's a lot of positives there, and I'm just, with the college game, hey, listen, I mean, it's kind of funny, I was talking this like some of my, buddies, Matt Patricia and Coach and Joe Judge, and then it's kind of funny because it looks like the NFL coaching pool is starting to get younger. I just read the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, they showed the age of those guys, man. And then they're young. And then a lot of us veteran coaches that have been in the NFL, man, we're excited. And whatever's happening in college football is helping us migrate to this, because this is really, the competitiveness is there. I mean, it's just incredible. So, the college game is really something that I'm excited about.
This isn't too simple, but can you just break down your philosophy for us in terms of what you feel like you bring and kind of what that is?
We got a long time?
As much as you like.
Well, no, I would just say this. Skill development to me is taking position-specific drills and carrying them over to the football field. So my role has always developed in the fact that I've taken an eye and an ear and a mouth, and I've kind of just said, hey, this is what we need to do to transfer this. So at the end of the day, back when I interviewed for the Browns back in, this would have been early 1992, you know, it's kind of funny because I walked into a room and I really didn't know I was in an interview, and I walk into this room and there's these men and they stand up and this guy says, my name is Bill Belichick, my name is Nick Saban, you know, this is Jim Bates, this is, you know, all these guys that are, you know, famous, Kirk Ferentz, and they just, and I knew nothing about football, so they kind of said, okay, this is what we need, okay, how can we develop that? So one of the things, like on defense, you know, they would say, hey, listen, blow delivery, block destruction, how do we do that? And to me, that's right up my alley from a, you know, a combative background. So, you know, we're going to identify the weakness of the opponent, we're going to train to be reactive, and then we're going to execute the plan that's been over and over and over in repetition. So for me, like take for instance a defensive player, you know, if he gets his hands on, we're going to understand we got to identify the job that's being given, and then I got to make sure that they have the tools to do that job. So you know, footwork, hand placement, explosiveness, you know, leverage control, balance, understanding of where I need to go, because at the end of the day, all this stuff that we do, you know, we got to understand the big picture is what? To win football games. So I'm just a part of that little process of developing a player. And I say this, you know, when we develop a player, we got to, number one, we got to teach him, you know, so he has good technique. Okay, so the first thing he has to learn is he has to have good technique. So we train that technique, and when his technique improves and he feels better about it, all of a sudden he gains what? Confidence. So if a player is doing the technique properly for the system he needs, all of a sudden he starts to gain confidence, and then all of a sudden he's able to do it at a high rate of speed and a high rate of violence that's going to help us on the football field. Then after that, you get into a thing where we're going to have to work on our timing, control our distance, and understanding when and what to use in the situation given. So it's kind of a situation where a skill development is, I will constantly sit with, I mean, back in the 90s, I sat with Coach Belichick, I sat with Coach Saban, you know, and we just watched that beta cam going back and forth, and I just studied and became a student of the game. And it's really no different today. We got better equipment, you know, as far as technology goes, but like just before I came down here, I've just been studying, you know, what happened out here today on the field this morning, and just watching every position group. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to have a conversation with our position coaches, and I want to get their coaching cues, and then I'm going to say, okay, you know, and then what do we need? What's the weaknesses? And you know, like I said to the players last night, you know, players need two things. Number one is they got to understand their weakness, and then number two, they got to figure out how to do something about it. So I'm going to, you know, in football, you got to know what to do, but you also got to know how to do it. So I'm part of the know how to do it phase. So I'm more development of a guy, and I just listen and I watch, and you know, I know football and I know what we need, so I'm going to be in the process of developing that skill, you know, and going down what I talked to you guys about: good technique, you know, gain confidence, violent application, you know, timing, accuracy, and distance control. So once we get those elements in every move, whether it be a receiver getting, getting off the line of scrimmage, whether it be a DB with his angling and his jam technique, whether it be a defensive pass rusher defeating and getting off blocks, an old lineman with his hand placement, you know, his weight distribution, his mobility, whatever it may be, that would be me.
Joe,
Yes, sir.
How did you mix the martial arts and that lead into football? Like, how did that happen, and how is it kind of translated?
Well, that story is kind of funny because you know, I had an Olympic aspiration for Taekwondo, so I actually moved to the Olympic Training Center in the late '80s, and you know, I trained with our U.S. Olympic Training Center team. I was on our national team, you know, competed in the Olympic trials, and then in end of '91, I moved back to Cleveland, Ohio, and my stepfather, I'm adopted by a Korean stepfather. He had me go to his second gym, his second martial arts school, and there was an article about me in the Cleveland Plain Dealer, and all about my, you know, Olympic aspirations. And Coach Belichick read the thing on his, you know, so he sent 2 players over to me, and I didn't know this was coming. I remember standing in my dad's Taekwondo school, and all by myself in the afternoon, and I see this red Mercedes pull up, and I see these two big men get out of that car. I was like, whoa. And then I got a little nervous because they started walking towards me. And they come in and they're like, they got a paper and they said, is this you? I said, yeah. They're like, listen, our coach said that we need hand usage, we need mobility. And he said that when he had Lawrence Taylor at the Giants, that's what Lawrence Taylor did. So he sent these guys to me, and Anthony Pleasant, Michael Dean Perry, and Rob Burnett. And I told them I really don't know anything about football other than just being a great Browns fan. I played it, a little bit, here and there, but really just don't know, but let's go. So it just started. They taught me, I taught them, this works, no, that doesn't work. And then that interview happened, and then coach says, after I went in and talked to those guys, hey, I would like to integrate you into my strength and conditioning program. And I just started, and then the players started improving and migrating with the skills and drills, and we had a good team in Cleveland, and then when they left, I thought that was it, but then it just they just called, and just the journey the journey was just there. So what I did was I just took martial arts backed and martial arts based driven techniques, skills, and drills, and applied it to the football field. And as I've grown over the years, listen, I still have imposter syndrome, believe it or not. I'm still the karate guy that's been walking through the National Football League for 32 years, and I just haven't left. But I think if you have passion for what you do, the people around you see that and they buy into it, and all of a sudden your passion turns into your purpose, and your purpose turns into your identity, and here we are.
Pass rushers, you've had a big impact on them.
Right.
I know Bret wants to get the most out of guys like Gabe Atkins, things like that. How important, or how much does that translate, all the hand fighting and things you're talking about, like how that position specifically?
Yeah, to me that's the ultimate fight, right? So it's like, I break things down into three phases. You have your start in a fight. So if you're in a, now the UFC is popular, but what's the thing? You have your start. What's your first approach? Then when you're in the fight zone, right? You what are you doing in the fight zone? And then you have to get the finish. So in football, the start would be snap of the ball, your stance, your alignment, your assignment. We got to train that. Then when you enter into the fight zone, I used to call it the phone booth. These kids don't know what a phone booth is anymore, even in the pros. But you got to win in the phone booth. So that's the fight zone. You got to win in the tight space, and that's where all your hand speed drills, your reactiveness, your training comes into the realm. And then you have your exit strategy, which would be your finish. So, is your footwork correct? Is your body weight correct? Is your head correct? Are your eyes correct? Are your hands up? Are you clearing the trash? And then on the finish, you're going to the quarterback. What kind of quarterback we going to? Is he a guy that we need to constrict and contain in the pocket, or is he going to run out? Do we have to have different leverage techniques to the finish? So it'll be like a guy, how do we get him on the ground? On a finish, if you were in a martial arts combative arena. So I think a lot of the combative techniques will really apply to pass rushers. And, praise God, I've had a lot of opportunities to work with some of the best pass rushers over the last 30 years. And, they've taught me a lot, and I've taught them, and we've just kind of worked together. Going to your thing, Jeremy, on Gabe. I'm still learning the roster.
Right.
I was around him a little bit last year. I'll tell you one thing I've noticed from being here probably around this time last year, watching spring ball, and for a couple. His transformation of his body is much better. They've done a great job in that strength and conditioning program of just stronger, faster, more powerful, and you can see the maturity of the body already. And I think that all of them are going to have a good opportunity to improve, just by that. But I think maybe my years of wisdom and my years of seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work is going to come into play, and help all these guys.
You obviously are worried about Illinois first, but will you be looking at the scoreboard for North Carolina this year a little bit? Checking out that out or not?
Man, I'm so excited for Coach and his staff, and I had some great conversations with him after the season, and he's gonna, absolutely. I'm always, I'm a bridge builder. I'm not a bridge burner, so I have relationships throughout the whole career. And Coach Belichick is my football father, and he brought me in the league, and we've had a great relationship for 30 plus years, and he's going to do an incredible job. Just the wisdom that he's going to give those kids, and and the teaching, and just his presence when he walks down and into a room is captivating, and I'm excited. And of course, I'm going to root for him as always, unless they ever play the University of Illinois.
I hope this makes sense. You said you still maybe have imposter syndrome from time to time.
Yeah.
How do you get buy-in from guys who maybe don't know you and see your martial arts background? Now you've got 30 years of football, but
right.
how did you cultivate that trust and that buy-in early, and how do you still carry that?
Number one, I think, like you said, now the resume kind of takes care of that self. But coming in is tough, and I tell young coaches, I tell young people all the time, hey, you have to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And when you're in this situation where we come into an arena that we're not trained in and utilized in right away, it's a learning curve for everybody. But if you believe in what you do and you have passion for how and why you do it, it's going to work itself out. But I think number one thing is we always have to understand that we have to have humility in how we do things, and understand that there's a lot of other people out there that know a lot of other things that you don't know, and if we can match and marry those and merge, we'll learn together. So I think that's kind of how I did it. I mean, I had a lot of naysayers along the way, but it never really discouraged me. It just more encouraged me. And and at the end of the day, you have to have a relationship-based bond with each and every player you touch. And once they trust you and they realize that your whole goal is to make them become a better version of a football player, and more importantly, a better man in the way, then all of a sudden that comes in and that kind of takes over.
Joe, you mentioned God's plan, fate, whatever you want to call it. I mean, part of your story, who you were adopted by, and his background, and then being in the same city as Bill Belichick. Like, does that feel like?
It's like everything lines up. It's like I believe in that. I mean, everything happens for his reason, and I just think that, if we could shine that light and we could share our passion, whatever faith-based you are, whatever you believe in, that to me is more of me just shining my light and being the best person I can be in society and everywhere I'm at.